Welcome everyone. It's day 2 of WOLFcon here in Durham, North Carolina. Conference all about the projects surrounding the Open Library Foundation. I have with me today Tonya Frozen. Thank you. And Mark Johnson. Could you introduce yourselves and where you are where you work in the Folio project?
Okay, Tonya Frozen. I work for Fenway Libraries. I sit on the consortial SIG because Fenway Libraries is a consortium.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the resource access SIG and I'm product owner for the requests subgroup.
Mm. Very good. Mark?
I'm Mark Johnson and I work with knowledge integration in the UK, and we've been involved in the core team building. I've been mostly involved in inventory and circulation, and some of my colleagues are working in electronic resource management.
So the one coder, one subject matter expert. Very good, very good. So today was all about working meetings. It was kind of yesterday was the Folio meetup and a few working meetings, but today we really got started with the heart of coming together and talking about Folio. What kind of meetings did you guys attend today, and what were some of the hot topics coming out of them?
We were actually in we're in a working meeting together today, which was working on working on the model of how we're going to do item statuses, and it's something that we've been kicking around in online meetings and in online conversations, but it was really great to actually get together. He pointed at a lot of things on the board which you can't do online.
I was wondering what the controversy of item statuses might be.
Just how you're going to structure them and how we're going to think about them and how we break out item status, which has been a catch-all for decades, sort of a catch-all tool for making your system do a lot of different things, and we're teasing that apart because you know, item status is one thing, but we've been using it for 20 things for about 30 years.
Okay. Yeah. Really rethinking it then.
Yeah, I mean, it touches upon a lot of different areas, and what we're trying to do partly is make it so that the acquisitions part of the world doesn't have to think too hard about the circulation part of the world, or the requests part of the world. Because we don't want like a ripple effect. If somebody needs a new status, we don't want it to cause changes everywhere. But we also want people to be able to express all those different things that Tonya was talking about in a way that's richer than just this special word that means something to lots of people but may not necessarily mean something to everybody unless you've spent 20 years looking at these things. So
what kind of things were you pointing at? Are we creating multiple item statuses, or are we creating a hierarchy of item statuses?
Yes.
That was a lot of the question today.
So we talked about a variety of models. I think we are still trying to figure out which one. The thing I was pointing at was this notion that we can have statuses for each individual process. So say you're owing money to the library. Well, that's information about a fine or a fee because you've lost the book, and you might want to represent that in the item as well, but you might want to keep that just in that space. Similarly, acquisitions. I mean, acquisitions is probably one of the most kind of hot topics in this bit because it has its own workflow, but it also touches upon the very early days of how a book or an item kind of appears in the library. And so I was pointing and trying to figure out what the impact of each individual kind of area of the system. How would that map across to a bigger picture version that sits inside the item?
This kind of matches your experience
Yes.
in the heart of a consortium, I imagine.
Yeah, actually, very much so. Say more about that later.
Yeah? Yeah? No.
I don't want to tell you.
No war stories that you
we're not
care
going to
to
do war
share?
stories for that today.
Okay. Well, certainly you guys weren't talking about statuses all day.
No.
Trying to remember. No, I don't think so.
So actually, I spent probably quite a lot of the rest of the day not talking about Mark. No,
Mark.
Yeah, not me.
No, Mark. Yeah.
Talking about Mark 21 and how that impacts on the system, because one of the key ideas is that we don't want Folio to be only about Mark 21, and we don't want every part of the system to understand it. But it's becoming increasingly important because lots of systems rely on Mark, both for feeding them like discovery systems and other systems and link resolvers, but also for getting existing information into the system. And so we're increasingly looking at those areas, and a lot of the sessions I've been in have covered different areas of that.
And we have a 40 or more year investment in Mark as a format, and so many things that we get from outside or send to outside rely on that format. And as we hopefully eventually enter a post-Mark world, that Mark's going to be around for a long time in all of our legacy data. So we have to be able to use it and care for it.
Great. Other insights from meetings?
I think the early adopters.
That's right.
I keep getting asked if we're an early adopter because we're kind of trying to get in on the ground floor, and people are a little bit surprised that we're not an early adopter. But this is just a kind of a wait and see. We're trying to influence the direction of the product so that maybe when it comes out the other end, it's exactly what we want.
Oh, good. One of the other things I heard from the people kind of designing this meeting was leaving a lot of time for talking with folks outside of meetings. I think we had an hour and a half for lunch. We had a half an hour break and a 20-minute break. What kinds of conversations are you having with folks outside of meetings? And you don't have to name names, but what kind of new thing did you learn that maybe took you by surprise, or a chance conversation that happened because we're all here?
So quite a lot of my lunchtime was a continuation of the item status stuff.
But
actually it was really nice because it was hearing about some of the quirkier stuff that people have had and how. So I don't have a broad background in library systems. So a lot of the stuff I'm fascinated about is how previous systems have ended up shaping how you approach problems or how you handle and how a system can react to certain things. So I was confused about something called a process state, which is sort of like a mini workflow system embedded inside Mark records.
That's a new one.
Or inside item records, certainly. And that led into conversations about how people's how history has impacted a lot of the models that we've got, and how do we deal with that with thinking through what the problems we're trying to solve are, not how they've already been solved previously. How to unpick some of that. So I learned about quite a few different nuances where people have wrapped up lots of stuff into things, and that led into talking about locations and how those
another deep topic in Folio land, locations.
Yeah, I'm told I accidentally stumble into the deep conversations on a regular basis.
Yeah, those are ongoing and very lively.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's taking, locations also kind of strikes me like you were describing status, that we've embedded so much in them, and we've got a new model for locations in Folio that is, at once hierarchical and also. Do we still call it the parking lot of?
No, we don't call it the parking lot.
We don't call it the parking lot. Okay, but is that set, that collection of locations as well in an attempt to meet?
Yeah.
To do something new with all of the things that we've been doing.
It's another example of a tool, one of the limited tools we've had that we have taken full advantage of through the years to accomplish things that our systems weren't designed to accomplish. But it's time to think differently about them and actually figure out how we can do it a little more elegantly than just lumping everything into locations or everything into item status. What's our end goal, not how have we done it the last 40 years.
Who's the user experience designer working on this?
On location?
Well, I was thinking on the status.
We're not to the point where we're actually designing anything yet.
Okay.
You know, there are a few candidates. Darcy's probably a good candidate. Petey maybe. It's hard to say.
The conversation always seems to get fascinating when those designers come in with that perspective.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. It seems to me that then people really start to think about how this is different. Yeah,
it also becomes very real at that point. And it's interesting to me how Philip, the head design guy, he thinks differently about how you lay things out on the screen and how that influences your behavior. And it actually does start influencing how you think about what you're trying to accomplish, which is kind of odd. It's bizarre. It's great. But it's a very different world. So.
Other thoughts as we end the day? Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me here in the Wolf Den. The Wolf Den, we're here at 5 o'clock Eastern Time every day and interviewing people associated with the project. Also invite you to join the live stream of the plenary session tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern US time. And I understand we're going to have some demos. And if you can't make it, the recording will be stored up on YouTube. You can watch it later. Tonya and Mark, thank you for joining me here in the Wolf Den.
Thank you.